Thank you, Madam Chair. It's always difficult to compete with lunchtime, so I'll try to make my comments very brief. But let me just say that it's been an honor to serve on this Public Safety Committee. I appreciate the way, Ms. Chairman, you run the meetings very professionally and give everybody the appropriate opportunities to ask questions and make comments, and it's greatly appreciated. So, Madam Chair and committee members, first of all, I'd like to take the suggested amendment on page 4 of the analysis as an author amendment and to thank your committee staff on their analysis. Also, 2 other amendments. One, specify that 1170H defendant subject to the crime defined by the bill served a felony jail sentence, not some other form of confinement. And 2, include an element that the defendant knew or should have known that he or she was required to obtain consent before entering the grounds of a correctional facility or camp. SB 666 is a very simple measure. California law clearly states that a person that has been previously convicted of a felony and has been confined in a prison in the state of California cannot enter the grounds of any prison, camp, or jail in the state. With the passage of AB 109, there exists a loophole in current law. The statute does not include a person who has been previously convicted of a felony and has been confined in a county jail. The statute is also silent about those that have been convicted of a felony in a different state, or if they have been confined in a federal prison upon conviction of a felony. SB 666 closes the loophole in current law by stating that, in addition to current law, no one that has been previously convicted of a felony and served time in a county jail, a prison in another state, or in a federal prison will be allowed on the grounds of a prison camp, or jail in the state of California. Madam Chair, I respectfully request an A vote.
Okay, thank you. Witnesses in support of the bill? Witnesses in opposition to the bill?
Natasha Minsker, ACLU of California. Unfortunately, we are opposed. One of the most important elements to successful rehabilitation and reintegration into society for people who have been incarcerated is maintaining strong family ties. There already exist in California many burdens and hurdles that make it difficult for people to visit with their family members who are incarcerated. Unfortunately, SB 666 adds an additional hurdle that is unnecessary. There is a certain logic to saying that people who have spent time in California prisons should not be allowed to enter the grounds of locked facilities without prior approval of the warden. That logic does not apply to the people who have served time in county jail. And in fact, there are many more people in California who serve time in county jail, and this bill, SB 666, would expand the scope of the law significantly. We believe this is unnecessary and will burden the ability of family members to visit their family members who are in custody, thereby frustrating our efforts to have successful rehabilitation and reintegration for those who are currently incarcerated. We urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leif Osagai on behalf of the California Public Defenders Association. We are also in opposition to this bill, mostly for the reasons previously stated, but I'd also like to point out, as the statute currently reads, protecting against individuals who have been incarcerated in state prison from the visitation or getting that notice for visitation from others who have been incarcerated in state prison has a logic to it that's based on the fact that some of the prison gangs are communicating with people outside, and there are connections between the street gangs and the gangs in prisons, and that could be facilitated through visitation. With this bill dealing with county jail and federal inmates, these folks are not connected to the prison gangs. They're not going to pose the same risk as if they're visiting these facilities in this way. So we think that as it exists, there's some logic to that, but expanding it will not help the law in any way, and will not help to protect against the harm that this law was enacted to prevent. Thank you. Thank you.
And this is Carol Strickman with Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, and echo the comments already made. It's, in addition, if I'm reading it correctly, if you now are, you've served time in a county jail, you may have a prisoner who is convicted of a felony, may have spent a few days unable to post bail, and then they post bail, and then they get probation, and if they're going to also be caught up by this, then that's just another example of an even greater extension of who might be harmed by it. I don't see the big need for it. I'm not aware of a problem in the real world that's this bill is trying to address. Maybe I'm just not aware, but we just generally feel that, we should. And also, it really literally read, if, a lot of county jails are next to courthouses and court buildings, and it almost means you can't get even near the building or lands next to the building if you have a conviction. So it seems, extremely overbroad, so we oppose it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from members of the committee?
Quick question. If I served time in the prison and I wanted to go back and visit, what is the procedure for me to go and get permission?
You need to get permission from the warden.
Right, but is there anything, how difficult is that? I mean, I'm trying to establish, people overcome that all the time to visit the prisons. And adding the jail to it, I'm just wondering how onerous that process really is.
I'm not aware of how onerous the process is. I just know that it's existing law today, as we know, that people have to get permission if they didn't come from a county jail serving a felony sentence or a federal prison serving a felonious issue. They have to get permission today. So I assume that there is a protocol that allows for that to happen. This is probably going to affect maybe 15, 20% of the visits that go on today in our state penitentiaries. This is just merely an expansion of existing law today. It will not affect the courts as was just articulated. It's those that are visiting prisoners in our state penitentiaries. They cannot have any felons from any other outside of the state institutions or any federal institutions. And also just to abut, there is a national network of gangs. But whether you're serving a federal penitentiary, whether you serve in a county jail, the Crips are still the Crips, the Bloods are still the Bloods. There's a nationwide network. The reason why these laws have been in effect is to prevent further exacerbation of gang crimes in the community and limiting their discourse. So again, this is just an expansion, and I hope that the panel will see the merits of it.
Madam Chair, may I address Senator Anderson's question? Briefly? That it is in fact quite onerous to get approval. You have to seek a staff member and notify them that you wish to visit your loved one in prison, and then that information has to go through a process of approval, often going up to the warden, him or herself. It's not something that's normally delegated to a lower level functionary in the prison. And so the most significant thing is that it delays visitation by a significant amount of time. There's no mandatory timeline for a response. And so people can wait months to receive their clearance. And the clearance is specific to one facility. And so if your loved one is moved to a different facility, you have to go through this all over again.
Thank you. With AB 109 being implemented in using the jail system in lieu of the prison system with many of these folks, I like the oversight. I want to empower people coming out of our jail system to stay in the straight and narrow. And I think that extra scrutiny, and I get it's onerous, but we're doing it already with other folks. If that keeps them on the straight and narrow, I think that's a good thing. And I'm sorry they're in the system. I'm sorry for the victims that they victimized. But I think at the end of the day, I think you can't say that we don't have gang members in the jails. And you can't say that the gang members aren't coordinating. They're very, very clever. And so I think this is a good bill, and I'd like to make a motion to move it.
The motion is do pass as amended to appropriations. Yeah, I have looked at this bill for a long time, and I am going to support it today because It does deal with jail felons, not misdemeanants. And it is a loophole in the existing law since 109 was passed. And I'm also very cognizant that CDCR is concerned about contraband in prisons and jails. And we all are, and we're looking for non-invasive ways of dealing with that issue in the budget subcommittee and other places. So I will support the bill as it moves ahead to appropriations today, but I would note that the amendments say that essentially the defendant knew or should have known that they were required to get consent, because really we need to have protocols laid out that are simple and clear so that family members can continue to visit and other things. And this doesn't prohibit the visits, it simply says that the warden needs to know about it and give approval. So, I will support your bill today, Senator Stone. Please read the roll.
Hancock.
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Anderson.
Aye.
Anderson, aye. Leno. Lou. McGuire. Monning. Monning, aye. Stone.
Aye.
Stone, aye.
Thank you, distinguished panel.
That bill, we'll hold the roll open for the absent members, and we will call the absent members. I think other members of the committee may need to go to caucus. Wait a minute, Senator Monning, have you voted on everything? Because we'll lift the calls for you if you haven't. Okay. Yes, I know. Thanks. Okay, Senator Lou voted on everything?
Oh, that you need to vote. Oh, Senator Lou needs to vote on items 2 and 5.
Okay.
Want to lift the call?
So I'm going to lift the call on item 2. That's SB 29 by Senator Bell. There are 5 ayes, no noes, chair and vice chair voting aye.
Lou. Lou, aye.
I'll put that back on call. And item 5.
See you later, thanks.
SB 176 by Senator Mitchell. 5-0, chair voting aye, vice chair voting aye.
Lou. Lou, aye.
Okay.
Consent, which is
to
item
5.
10, essentially. The consent calendar.
Yeah, on the consent calendar, SB 621,
Lou. Lou, aye.
blue aye. Okay, and didn't vote on item 3.
You just, yeah.
All right, we're going to lift the calls. Item 1, SB 11 by Bell. The vote is 6-0. Chair voting aye, Vice Chair voting aye.
McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye.
Okay, that bill is out. Item number 2, SB 29 by Bell. The vote is 6-2. Chair voting aye, Vice Chair voting aye.
McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye.
Okay, that bill is out. Item number 3, SB 124 by Leno. The vote is 4-2. Chair voting aye, Vice Chair voting no.
McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye.
That bill is out. Item 4, SB 165 by Monning. The vote is 6-0. Chair voting aye, Vice Chair voting aye.
McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye.
That bill is out. Item 5, SB 176 by Mitchell. Vote is 6-2. Vice Chair, 6-0. Sorry. Chair voting aye, Vice Chair voting aye.
McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye.
Item 6, SB 219 by Lou. The vote is 4-2. Chair voting aye, Vice Chair voting no.
McGuire. McGuire, aye.
That bill is out. Item 7, SB 224 by Lou. The vote is 3-2. Chair voting aye, Vice Chair voting no.
Leno. Aye. Leno, aye. McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye.
That bill is out. Item 8, SB 332 by Block. The vote is 5-0. Chair voting aye, Vice Chair voting aye.
Leno. Aye. Leno, aye. McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye.
That bill is out. Item 9, SB 411 by Senator Laura. Vote is 6-0. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye.
McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye.
That bill is out. Consent calendar, same, 6-2.
McGuire. Aye. McGuire, aye.
Item 11, SB 666. The vote is 4, 1 abstention.
Madam
Chair
Chair,
voting aye, Vice Chair voting aye.
there was an amendment. Could you tell us about it?
The amendment is 2 amendments. Basically clarifying that the bill relates to felony jail sentences, and that including an element that will work on the language that the defendant knew or should have known that they were required to obtain the consent of the warden before entering the grounds. And that's particularly so that we can develop a streamlined protocol that will make it easy to do.
Leno.
So,
Leno, aye. McGuire.
For the amendments, aye.
McGuire, aye.
okay. 6, that bill is out. Thank you all members very much.
Thank you for your patience. I'm sorry I had energy at the same time, so I do apologize.
We totally understand, Senator McGuire.
We're adjourned.